Join former FBI senior forensic examiners Becky Passmore and Stacey Eldridge as they dig into the world of digital forensics, one bite at a time. Now leading their own consulting firms and educating the next generation of cyber sleuths. These badass babes of digital forensics bring sharp insight, real-world case experience, and a dose of humor to the bits and bytes that build today's investigations. From deep dives into business email compromise and ransomware attacks, Becky's specialty, to cracking the complexities of iPhone forensics, Stacey's obsession. This podcast delivers insider knowledge for professionals, students, and true crime techies alike. If you've ever wondered what really happens when the digital trail is all that's left, tune in and start parsing the truth.
Welcome back to Parsing the Truth, one bite at a time. I'm Stacey Eldridge, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Becky Passmore. And we dive into today's cases where we focus on digital evidence and the artifacts that make up the facts that solves the case. Becky, what are we going to talk about tonight?
Well, again, tonight we have a special guest with us. We are extremely excited to have founder and chief forensic investigator Mario Merendon, VX Digital Defense, with us. Mario has a great case to share with us tonight, so thanks for being with us, Mario.
Hey, glad to be here.
So, Mario, for our listeners, can you briefly introduce yourself and give us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Mario Merendon. I retired law enforcement after 19 years. It was a beloved career that I absolutely loved. You know, right now I'm in the private sector, own my own business, VX Digital Defense. Get to cover still dealing with criminal cases, dealing with civil cases, and you name it. It's good to be in the game still. So really love it.
And what agency were you with? Was it the same one for 19 years?
Nope. I had a couple agencies that I started my career with Keller Police Department. And then did a short stint over at Corinth Police Department, where I was mostly a detective during my time there. That's where I really started just really loving the job with crimes against children, working for them, doing ICAT cases, getting introduced to how digital forensics works, and then went over to Denton County District Attorney's Office. And that's where this case took place, and that's pretty much where my digital forensic career took off.
That's awesome. Yeah, so let's talk about the title of your case and what your role was in this case.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a case that was the state of Texas versus Jay Rotter. I had received a phone call late at night about what appeared to be a potential suicide. And Denton Police Department were investigating the case. And as you know, working digital forensics for the county at the DA's office, a lot of the digital evidence came over to my lab. So they had given me a call, kind of gave me a rundown of what they were looking for. And what really started was, like I said, an alleged suicide, and kind of just corroborating evidence from statements taken about looking for a movie that they were supposedly watching, just to kind of corroborate some statements.
Okay. So you were the main forensic examiner on this case?
Yes, ma'am.
The lead? Okay.
The only one
now,
at the DA's office.
The only one.
Probably a lot of people can attest to these smaller.
Yeah, you are the digital forensics department.
I was. I love
Normally how it works.
Yeah. Is there any limits on what you can say? Is anything off the books that
I don't think so. From my understanding, it's already gone through the process. We're done with the case. Yeah, just kind of sharing the good parts about it, primarily for the examiners out there that do what we do.
That's right. Yeah, so Mario, let's dig in. Tell us all about your case.
Yeah, so like I said, this came in as a suicide call. And, I did not go to the scene or anything like that. There was CSI, Denton PD, that had collected all of the evidence. We had talked about it on the phone, what they need to do, how to properly secure the evidence and so forth. And all that evidence was couple cell phones, a couple computers, and a lot of questions. Denton PD did a great job collecting that information, but this involved the person that this case was against and who called 911 was an off-duty sheriff's deputy that his girlfriend had allegedly killed herself with his duty weapon.
Oh no.
So automatically it's just kind of like, what's happening that's not normal.
Right.
So it's a high priority for Denton Police Department. The victim had had suffered some setbacks in her life. She was a quadriplegic or paraplegic rather, and she had gone through some tough times. So that was part of part of the narrative. That was important to this. And kudos to Denton Police Department. They were really good at collaborating
Okay.
with myself and other people on this case that were in my opinion was very instrumental to its success. No matter which direction it went. So there was a lot of physical evidence that at face value had looked like a suicide. And so they wanted me to corroborate some claims of watching a movie, and they brought their evidence over, and just this was around COVID time as well. So had a lot of time to work on it.
I
So
was like,
when
that just made everything more difficult.
Yeah.
right. So when it was COVID time and you were working on it, were you still going to the agency and working on it, or were you moved to work
Yeah,
on it
this was
at
back
home?
in this was more in September. I believe it was August, September area time frame. The end of August. So yeah, I was, starting to get back into the office and everything like that, and everything getting back to normal.
Where were they watching this movie on, or what were they watching it on that
Yeah,
they wanted
so
you to
they had mentioned that
corroborate?
they were they were at a desk, like a computer desk, watching it
Okay.
on a computer. And so they had taken pictures of the scene, obviously, because she was in front of the desk where she was found. So that came into play later on. But yeah, so we're just, how in investigations, whatever story that we're told or whatever law enforcement is told, that's just more information for us to look up, to find out. And it's not really to back anyone in a corner, maybe in some cases, but it is, how many things were correct, how many things were wrong. It gives us the totality of what we're looking at. So in this case, this was just one of those, let's check all the boxes. Let's see what they're saying is true. And what we all love about digital evidence, it leaves a heck of a footprint.
Right.
Um, beyond what we can see. That was an exciting part about it. In any case that we're doing. But yeah, so I'm looking at it.
And what kind of pieces of what kind of evidence did you get in and start looking up?
Yeah, so one of the main things that I was starting to look at was the main computer, the gaming computer.
Okay.
And it had multiple drives in it. And they aren't small drives either, right? You got a gaming computer, multiple drives, and
Right.
some that are hidden on the other side, not because they're trying to hide them, but just that's just the nomenclature of, computer hardware. So, we're just, I say we're law enforcement side, but downloading everything, being thorough. And it takes some time it takes time before we even get to the part of looking at it and analyzing it. So, I have multiple pieces here. We've got computer stuff that I can download in the lab. I believe I had also used the services of Fort Worth Police Department and Dallas Police Department because they had different capabilities. And, in 2020, not everybody had an ability to get a full file system. That was starting to pick up. It was not everyone had the budget to get that type of equipment. So being a
Well, that's
smaller
still not
county,
changed today either.
right?
Not everybody has the budget.
Yeah, but so very very thankful for the people. This was an interagency effort just to grab data, right?
Right.
So we're going to Fort Worth to get a full file system there. Then we got to go to Dallas Police Department to get a break through a locked phone, or just to get a full file system, or what we can. Maybe it was a physical, I forget, but which we'll come back to later. But one of them was wiped. One of those phones was wiped. So
Okay.
yeah. But yeah, in the course of our workflows, I think everyone's a little different, but we go through chats, we go through web history, we go through the different applications, we go through the images. And in this particular case, it was one thumbnail that just kind of opened the case that I was like, "Hey, what is this?" And this timestamp is around the time that this incident had apparently taken place.
Oh.
So I can
So
share my screen and yeah.
what device?
share your screen.
Yeah, go ahead and share your screen. What devices were you looking at? Were you looking at one cell phone or more than one cell phone?
I was looking at multiple cell phones,
Okay.
but in this particular Um, in this particular instance, I was looking at a computer, the gaming
Okay.
computer. Yeah.
Okay.
And this story does merge both computers and cell phones
Okay.
together. So what you're seeing here is this gun, this picture of a gun at a desk, with the slide lock back. And you have the keyboard, you have the computer in the background, and you've got a lighter and a yellow pen right there. So,
Okay.
but one thing, not only did that stand out to me, but the timestamp on this particular thumbnail was around the time that this incident had occurred. So immediately, the collaboration between agencies was awesome, and even to this day, even on the private side, I still have a good relationship with that department
Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
and the people there. So
So
when
Mario,
yeah,
for those of us who don't use guns, like what is the significance of it being pulled back like that?
well,
Does that mean anything? Or is it
well, it
to
could
just
be.
catch your eye because like it's a gun in front of a
I mean,
desk around the
in
time?
different circumstances, it probably could catch your eye, whether it's slide lock back with a mag in there. I don't see a magazine inside of there.
Okay.
But the main thing that stood out to me was gun, which, started in a desk with a
Right.
computer and a
Right.
timestamp. So when I email the detective and say, "Hey, like, is this?" I forgot my words that I mentioned, but it's something along the lines of, "Is this important?" You've seen the scene. I haven't seen the scene.
I was going to say, did you see
And
the crime scene
yeah,
photos?
I
Because a
hadn't
lot
seen
of
the
the
crime
times
scene photos
they
yet.
don't let us see any of that stuff, and they
And I
tell
think
us as little
different
as
agencies
possible.
are like that. In this case, I did get to see more stuff later on during our meetings,
Mhm.
but not having seen that stuff yet, they are like, "Yeah, that's the gun that was used. That's
Wow.
his duty weapon. That's the desk that she was at."
And that's a man holding that gun?
I would say so. It kinda looked like there's hair on the arm
Sure.
on the left-hand side,
Yeah.
Yep.
but it's hard to say,
Yeah.
So but at the very least, with the timestamp and everything, it started opening some questions, and they're asking, "Where was that? Who took that photo?" And I'm like, "I don't know yet."
And it
So,
was on the computer?
this was on the computer.
Oh, that doesn't even make any sense.
It
But
doesn't.
it's a thumbnail, so it's not
Right.
even like a full JPEG or whatever. It's a
No, it is a
thumbnail.
thumbnail, and I've blown it up here, and it looks terrible. Fuzzy
Yeah.
because they're not that large. And to me, all I have is this file name, this
Yeah.
F_0002F9. And ultimately later on I found a path to what this led to. But it was, I think a lot of us just we want our tools to give us most of everything that's there. And I think a lot of people just
Well,
kind of
sure.
depend on that. And I've learned over the years, as I get wiser and more experience in forensics, that the thrill of this is really finding it on your own and
Right.
and
Oh, yeah.
recognizing that the tool can't do everything for us.
Yeah.
So that's really one of the biggest messages for this is don't completely rely on your tools.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They're good. They are very good and the programmers are really good. But, law enforcement and examiners are really on the front lines of this and seeing new things, new trends, aside from the researchers that are behind the scenes as well. So,
I see a couple of things here. One, you have on the screen, it says no chats were parsed by the tool. And the other thing I noticed on this screen is that we talk about it being a thumbnail. And so knowing that this was a potential suicide, knowing those details, we as examiners may not always go look at the pictures or even the
right.
thumbnails, right? So like what in your mindset sent you in that direction?
Yeah. So, just for one, having the curiosity, having
Sure.
that, I've got to know more about
Mhm.
it. Um, reading through the listserv, reading through other tools that I'm used to, and just kind of knowing and having that experience, I guess, of what can each tool do that that this main tool was not using.
Mhm.
So, you got to follow the path. Everything has a path. And when you get to that path, what do you do? So, in this particular case, I'm using Magnet Axiom, and generally they are a very good tool. But I've known about an open source tool, um, ChromeCache View, and surprisingly, when I kind of ask people like, "Hey, have you ever used ChromeCache View?" They're like, "I have no idea what that is." But it allows us to dig a little bit deeper to get behind the scenes of cache, whether it's in web history, like, related to your web history, or it's related to an application. And in this case, I discovered that this thumbnail was associated with Discord, and there was no mention
Okay.
of Discord at all during any of the conversations that I was aware of. So this thumbnail just kind of like, okay, what's Discord got to do with it? I know people chat on it all the time. I know there's a digital forensics channel on there that's pretty huge, but why is it relevant in this case? So
And for the Chrome, say the name of the tool again, Mario.
ChromeCache View.
Does it work just on the Chrome browser, or is it Chromium based browsers?
It's a from what I understand, it's like different browsers. You can do
Okay.
Internet Explorer. I guess we don't use Internet Explorer anymore. Shows my age.
Edge.
But it's Edge.
We all know what
I
you're
don't like
Chrome,
to use that one
all
either.
sorts. Yeah, all sorts of different browsers, but cache folders as a whole.
Yeah. So
And
people
so,
take note. Don't let the name fool you. That is just for Chrome.
right. And so when I'm digging deeper, this takes me into this Discord area, right? Some of us are used to pulling up, let's say, iPhone backups and app data, right? The app data folder, username, app data, roaming. And in this case, I found that this thumbnail was associated with Discord, and then there was a Discord folder inside of roaming. So I started just digging deep, looking at, and this was before I knew anything about level DBs. Um, but here I'm looking at the low hanging fruit. What's the low hanging fruit? Text files, log files. And there were actually some that were in there. And the best way I could describe it was this: think of like a keylogger. Think of, it logs some of what you're typing. It logs a little bit more of that sentence and a little bit more of that sentence. And it's just this cascading lines of chats. I'm a
This is
visual
getting
person. I use
good.
my hands. So
Yeah.
it's just cascading lines of chats with Unix timestamps.
Okay.
So at this point, I think we're in the 1.6s at that point. Unix timestamps, was it 10 to 13 digit timestamps? So I recognize them, and I'm like, okay. The tools, the main tool's not parsing it out because this is a raw log. So I pull out Dcode, one by one. I'm like, what are these timestamps and with these chats? So I love Dcode. It's simple. Plug in a time, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting somewhere. This isn't that time of night of this stuff, but you just keep reading down this log, and lo and behold, there's like things that are making sense, things that are mentioning guns, things that are around this time frame, and I'm just like, well, this is interesting, and so I'm like, oh my god, I've got to make some sense of this because this has substance. I don't know what I'm looking at. And if any examiner tells you differently, we don't know everything.
I
And
know.
we probably learned something new in every case or have to do some research. And I had to do that here. And then I learned that Jay Rotter was talking to police in an interview. And then
And this is the
during
subject or the
Yep.
off-duty officer.
Yep, the off-duty officer, that he ended up wiping his phone during that time. I was like, okay, why'd
Like,
you wipe your
whoopsie
phone?
daisy, I accidentally wiped
I
my
wasn't there.
phone. Like, he didn't do it while he was, like, sitting there talking with them or anything, right? It's just, like, right
I think
around the events
I
in
don't
question?
remember. I think it was like during a quick break or, when he may have been out of view for a little bit, and he wiped his phone. So if I may, I'll share my screen one more
Yeah, go
time.
ahead.
And
'Cause did
so
he have 2 phones, a personal phone and his officer phone, his duty phone?
he did. Yeah,
Okay.
he had different phones. He was an undercover narcotics officer too. So he had different phones, and so I'm learning like, okay, what's on the phone? And if we know anything about phones, is you wipe phones, that stuff is gone with encryption nowadays.
Yeah.
So I still try. I think that's the one I took to Dallas PD to get a download on it. But going back to ChromeCache View, I'm digging deeper into this, and you can see app data, roaming, Discord, and then I'm into cache.
Gotcha.
ChromeCache View, take it to cache, load that file, load that folder in there. And what it gives you a view of just all of the websites kind of behind the scenes that are working in transmitting this data with that's happening behind the scenes with Discord. So this is where the phone comes into play. Is we're ChromeCache View again. Here we go. 11:08. This is 11:08 p.m. It was saved in local time, and it gave me. I was looking for that that thumbnail.
Right.
So here in ChromeCache View, you can't see it on this particular screen, but there was that thumbnail file name and this link. And what you can see is you have a IMG underscore 2020-08-26, and knowing how Androids work, when you take a
Right.
photo,
Right.
that is the timestamp that photo was taken.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, this we're onto something. So this gun photo is now associated with not only the thumbnail that I first saw it with, but also an actual file name that tells me it's an Android phone. Now looking back, he was the only one. The one phone that he wiped was a Motorola phone. Everything else was an iPhone.
Mm.
So it's like, okay,
Put the clues together. Yeah.
right. But now I can't put this particular clue to, I can't go in there and
To the
say, oh
rest
yeah,
of
I
it.
found this particular image because it's now wiped.
Because he wiped his
Um,
phone. But
right.
you sometimes ruling out stuff is good, right? So you're like, well, we know it didn't
hmm
come from the iPhones.
Yeah.
So we don't expect it to see it there based
And so
on
that
this
was
naming convention.
right. And that was another thing, is how do I have an Android file name, photo and file name in a gaming computer cache? I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So this takes research. This takes learning.
Yeah.
I had never seen this before. I don't think I've seen anything like it since in 6 years?
I'm like, just my mind is wandering as you talk through this. I was like, did he have the Discord app on his phone and then he had it open on his computer and it was caching? Is that what was happening here?
That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. So, being the nerd that I am, but most importantly, I think some examiners kind of forget that when a tool doesn't tell you this stuff, or when you find something, you got to validate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You absolutely do not want to go on the stand and say,
With Stacy's
well,
thought that she had just
yeah.
now, that is not sufficient.
right. And we all know somebody who's done that,
Oh, yeah.
or, and just we hope that that's never the case. But you got to spend more time on it. You can't be certain that you found it and that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Because what if we didn't know this 11:08 was local time? What if it was, what if it was, that was UTC time or something like that?
Correct.
Right.
You got to test it. You got to test it in the environments that you find and that that are being used. So in this particular case, putting together, I find the chats, right? And let me tell you about those chats, right?
Yeah.
So we have this cascading chat, right? And I have to take some out, put them into a log file. And he is talking about shooting a milk bottle, an effing milk bottle. He says, I killed that milk bomb. And it's like, what's he talking about, right? Then he actually spells out unpasteurized milk. And then
He does not like milk. Is that
right? So you're like, whoa, what you got against milk? And I think we'll talk about it later, but someone actually asked him, what's your problem with milk? So, but what I'm learning is I'm only getting like one side of this chat. What,
Okay.
right? Here we go again.
Yep.
Like, why? Why am I not getting everything else? Was he talking to someone else? Or was he just like, hey, I'm going to write this stuff in here and document what I'm doing? Probably not. But the one key was on my timestamps here at 11:14 and 12 seconds, Unix timestamp, it says, I just sent a 9 milli in this effing hippie. And
Oh, wow.
I'm, asking the
That
detective.
is
I'm
not
like,
milk.
I'm like, I am asking the detective, like, is this gun a 9mm? And he's like, yeah, it is.
Oh my goodness.
And so you literally have a smoking gun
Literally.
and you have almost a confession
Correct. I was about to say
that is in this raw log inside of Discord that I didn't even know they kept that kind of stuff.
Right.
Well,
So
yeah,
I'm like,
and your local computer too, right?
right,
Like,
a local
wow.
computer that's associated with the phone.
And
So
he wiped the phone,
he
so
wiped the phone.
you would have never had that from his
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah. So, I'm just kind of like, wow, I found this, but now the real work happens. How do I prove this?
How can you validate that?
There was another thing that they had shared with me, which again, props to the police department and their detectives that they want to collaborate, right? We all want to be on the same page. I absolutely love that. Communication is key. Let's share what we have to kind of put this all together. So I shared with them this stuff. And this is like, here's what I found. Is there additional physical evidence that can back this, make the case stronger, make some sense of it? Is this real? Is this the right timestamp? Am I looking at the right stuff? Because at this point, I'm sharing this, but I'm also saying I've got to prove it. I've got to validate it. And so I'm watching this Ring doorbell that's from across the street that they had provided. Put the timestamps, match them up, everything is good. And you hear a gunshot outside and it's really loud. But your first thought is like, okay, we hear the gunshot and she's dead. Is that the one that killed her? But she's inside, right? So why would it be that loud? Now, I'm not an audio expert. I will never claim to be an audio expert unless I go that route later on. But at the time of this, I'm just kind of listening. I'm like, okay, he references a milk bottle. So you have this timeline of you got a milk bottle that he
Okay.
says he shot. You
Right.
got this Ring doorbell that you hear the crack of a gunshot and it's matching up. He's like, boom, gunshot outside, loud. And then you have chat about the milk bottle. And then you have what I hear, what I thought I heard. And you can visualize the sound on like a little, I don't know, like an analyzer or whatever.
Yeah.
You
The
can,
waves.
yeah, the waves. I put that on my screen and you see this little boom,
Okay.
like what sounds like a muffled gunshot from the Ring doorbell. I don't think there was any audio maybe there was an audio expert. I don't know because we're under the rules, so at time of court we can't hear them testify or anything. So, but I don't remember if they had one that listened to that. But just kind of putting it all together, and we go off of a super timeline and like what's next, what do we see? Put it in that, just put it in that timeline. It matched up, but who knows? But I also, talking with the detectives, I'm like, we're all like, if he shot a round in the backyard, there should be a gun casing back there.
Yeah.
So they go back. They go back there. They find a gun casing in the backyard and they found a broken milk bottle in the trash can wheeled out to the curb, if I
Wow.
recall correctly, just in time, right before the trash goes and
Yeah.
picks it up.
Yeah. So you
So-
were Johnny on the spot.
It's like, man, we have physical, it's kind of roles reverse, right? Because normally we get the physical evidence and then we back it up with the digital evidence. And in this case, the digital evidence pointed us to the physical evidence
Wow.
that we didn't know about.
Right.
So I'm like on cloud nine here, and they probably are too. It's like, wow, like things are coming together from initial thoughts of, hey, could this have been a suicide? And so, we started putting all that together. And again, going back to this is the real work now. How do I prove this? I have to back this up with some sort of testing and research. So I load up a virtual machine with Windows 10, same version, same everything, right? You got it on the gaming computer, emulate that environment, install Discord on there. I get an Android phone. I install Discord on there, sign them in to the same account, and I'm chatting with, I'd reached out for some help or some ideas like, how do I do this? Or because again, we don't know everything. Tell me more about Discord. Where am I
Yeah, you're
looking?
like,
What am I
yeah,
looking
had
at?
you even been on Discord at all before then, really?
I had before, but I had to I don't remember if I created a new account or I reset my password
Oh,
or something.
yeah.
So now I do. And I never looked at Discord the same after it. But
Right.
so I am sending chats back and forth and I'm testing this out on a phone. I'm testing out on a computer. I take a picture of my car with a known timestamp with documenting everything. Like I have my report and then I have this testing and research. And so I'm documenting the name of the picture, when I sent it, and I'm going into the virtual machine. I'm collecting the exact same thing that I collected from the gaming machine, run it through the exact same tool, ChromeCache View, and I see the times match up. I see the chat's timing match up, and I see my file name right there in ChromeCache View.
Wow.
And I'm like, yes, this is making sense. This is all
Yeah.
coming together. But the one thing I still didn't have was who the heck was this guy talking to?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Who else knows about this? I didn't know. Again, this was another learning curve
Mhm.
of, okay, what's a Discord channel? I know what a channel is, but how does it appear in the actual in the evidence that I'm looking at? So in this case, I don't know, it's like 20 digits or something like that, 20 something digits of a channel ID
Right.
that give this information to the detectives and say, hey, write a search warrant. I don't
Right.
know what you're going to get. This is the username that I'm finding. This is all the information that I'm finding. And, I will say that unfortunately, we lost Detective Mooningham with the Denton Police Department. He was one of the lead detectives on there. He was the guy I sent, this picture to, and that we were all talking, him and Detective Potts and Detective Bearden. And these guys are awesome. But, he died from COVID, unfortunately, so he didn't get to see this through. And it, with that inherently kind of delays certain things. So
Sure.
here we are about to go to trial. And I'm like, still like, okay, we don't know who he's talking to, but they come through, they get the Discord warrant return. And
Okay.
this is almost like another test, right? So I have my timestamps, I have my validation and my research,
That
which
was
I'm
well
including
documented.
and always document step by step. Send that with your discovery. Get it out there ahead of time. You don't want that stuff creeping back. Get it out there. No surprises. This is part of our report. And by the way, examiners, write a report. Can't tell you, write a report.
Yeah.
Remind yourself, do yourself a favor later on.
Take notes, put a
Yes.
report together.
Take great
Yeah.
notes, document everything, test it, validate it. Don't just trust your tool. Get in there, dig deep, be curious. When I get this Discord return, and this is almost like a moment of truth, it's like, oh God, how accurate are my timestamps, or how good is this? Is my research enough?
Yeah.
And everything just fit together.
Like,
So nice.
Took my
wow.
log,
Woo!
took my log and my timestamps, took their log and timestamps. And what I've noticed was in the Discord search warrant return, none of his chats were there.
What?
Yeah, none of his chats were there. I don't know if he erased them. I don't know
When
if
he
they
wiped
fell
the
off
phone?
or I don't know. See, I don't think it would have wiped with the phone. I think you would have had to have deleted that data within Discord first, is my guess,
Okay.
and then cover the tracks with wiping the phone.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Discord, I've not done a ton with Discord. I've done a tiny bit, and it's weird. As
It
your
is.
return supports what I've seen, because like these Discord chats I was supposed to grab weren't on the phone, and the person was like, "I've kept my phone disconnected from the internet because and in the network and all the things. It's in airplane mode, no Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth, because I don't want these. I'm afraid these chats will disappear because they will delete them from the Discord server." Completely. And so I'm like, okay, we'll get them off the phone. But then they weren't on the phone, but they were
Right.
still on the Discord server. And so
Yeah.
it's like, why is this stuff disappearing? So
And it also depends, I guess, if you're using just the web or you're using the application itself and it's saved somewhere.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
it was crazy. And again, it was just like, okay, thankfully things match up, but there's missing stuff. But it completed the whole picture. It gave context. We need context. Digital forensics, in my opinion, gives that context that a lot of people
Absolutely.
kind of forget about. So I'm excited that these things were going together. Long story short, here's another kicker that
I love it.
it was a strange situation, but when I heard his name, I knew exactly who he was when they called
Oh,
Oh,
me.
really?
Yeah. We I remember backing him up when I was at Keller Police Department on a burglary call early
okay.
on in our both of our careers.
Yeah.
And then we became semi-friends, acquaintances, kind of kept in touch a little bit over the years, but I hadn't seen him in years. Hadn't seen him in years. But when Denton Police Department called me and told me who it was, I'm like, wow, okay. But some people might that kind of clouds your judgment or whatever. Like, no, it doesn't. I always say that our loyalty lies with the data,
Right.
right? It doesn't matter. I've been on both sides of that where you're either convicting somebody or you're keeping somebody out of jail.
Yeah.
It's there. It's great to have no matter what. So in this particular case, I guess everybody thought there's no conflicts, which was good. DA's office knew about it. Police department knew about it. Everybody knew.
Well, it's not
We
like
put it
you were
all out there.
besties going over to each other's
No,
houses on the weekends.
no. I
That
mean,
might have been a
I,
little bit different.
I was about to say, yeah, I hung out with him years ago. Years ago. This is
Mhm.
2021 now, and probably I think the last time 2013 or so, something like that. So it's been a while. But yeah, it's just that part was a little strange
Yeah.
and maybe a little bit more motivating of like just make sure you got everything right. And I remember the defense attorney. I mean, he's just doing his job. I get it. We all have our roles and we all have our jobs. But yeah, I remember they requested to talk to me about the digital evidence. DA's office were cool with it. It's just being open. And
So did
he
you
asked me,
do like a deposition then, or
no,
was
it
it more of
wasn't
an
deposition. It was a,
informal?
it was a meeting just at his
Okay.
office. And I remember him kind of asking me, he's like, just nonchalantly, he's like, "You didn't know Jay, did you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I did. Like, I knew who he was, and I'm not gonna lie about that." That's another thing, examiners and law enforcement don't lie
Right.
about anything like that. I mean, even something as simple like lying about that could have impeached me, could have
Absolutely.
been a reputation killer for the career,
Yeah.
and taken out a lot of the digital evidence that was found.
Yeah.
So don't lie about that stuff.
Yeah. And he was probably trying to strategize how he
I'm
was
sure.
going to question you. Like,
He's doing his job, and I get it.
absolutely. Yeah. Those questions, when they ask you those questions in those meetings, it's because they're building a strategy to defend their client. Like you said, they have a job to do.
Yeah. Which respect, I get it.
Sure.
Especially working with defense attorneys now, I get it. But yeah, so all of that, came together and, the victim, I haven't mentioned her name, Leslie Hartman was her name. And, she was very loved. A lot of people knew her. And, she had gone through some tough times in her life, but truth prevailed. And ultimately, Jay Rotter was found guilty um,
And did
of,
they
of murder.
ever get a conviction? I mean, did they ever get a statement from him as to like, did he did he do this? Why did he do this? Does anybody know
From
any
my
of that?
recollection, I think it was that she did it to herself, that she was depressed and
And that was
that's
always his
that's why
story.
she took an opportunity and had supposedly shot herself with his gun. But digital evidence,
Proved
you
that
know,
he was
otherwise.
actually the one that shot her. Like you said, somewhat confessed on it
Very
on
much so.
that Discord channel.
Yeah.
And how long did you have to testify in
Whew.
court?
I'm trying to remember. It was a few hours. I mean, it was probably a good half to most of the day, if I
Mm,
recall.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit, like a couple years
Yeah.
now. But
Yeah. Did you have to testify about your testing and validation? Did they
I
ask you
sure
about
did.
that at all?
I sure
Okay.
did.
And then, so did that come in with your prosecuting attorney
It did.
first? Okay.
Yep. So on my initial testimony, it did come in as to like, how did you know that this happened? How did you test or like, what did you do to understand that these were the right timestamps and so forth? And so I went through the entire entire thing, and we just kind of get in front of it. We're laying out the groundwork of and the validity of what I'm finding. Because I think, like I would say, even attorneys on both sides are just used to some sort of forensic tool that is like, here it is. This is what this is. This is a timestamp. You can read it. It's there. And in this case, it's a big case. It's a major case and a major find. You've got to document it. It's like you're taking the place of that forensic tool, what they would expect to see. And our job as examiners is just to put that into some sort of just something that everyone can understand.
Right. And we have to remember we're the voice of the victim. Like when we put those details together, you're speaking for the victim that cannot speak for themselves anymore.
Exactly. And and it's a heck of a feeling, and you got to get it right. You absolutely have to get it right. That's why I tell students, I teach forensics both in college. I teach forensics for IASIS, mobile device forensics. And I love that, right? Because this is a passion. This is something that we love to do, and we love the industry. We love the impact that we can make. And that's, not to jump too far ahead, but sometimes we're the only ones that get the opportunity to find this. What if any one of us had just stopped at, no, they were lying. They weren't watching the video, and that's it.
Or since you knew this officer and you had worked with him in the past, said there's no way he could have done, like, you all of a sudden became that bias forensic examiner.
It could easily have gone that way for anyone.
Absolutely.
Well, especially when there was nothing obvious at first
Right.
glance.
Yeah. And that's where, I think that some of us can get a little dependent on just what we see or have a time constraint. I had a backlog. I think every forensic lab in this country or in other countries even have backlogs and a shortage of staff with that training and experience. So if we're just pressed for time and we don't know what else could be out there, or we can't dedicate time to go look, what are we missing? And so, like, part of my message and like why I even enjoy talking about it right now is, if anything, is just kind of put some inspiration in other people's ear of like, hey, don't take for granted the kind of role that we have and the kind of things that we can uncover that other people cannot. Because what if we just threw that into a portable case and say, yeah, I tagged this photo and here's some web history. Here you go, detectives, go look at it.
Yeah.
And just left it at that. Could very well have been a suicide, right? Or classified as a suicide. And no one would have ever known.
And they would not have the understanding of how to take a separate tool and do this testing and validation that you did and do your comparison and decode your timestamps and use those timelines and correlations of all that evidence into a story, because you told the story from all that correlating of evidence.
Yeah, it was it's difficult, right? And it's almost like we train this or we learn this in all of our stuff. Like, well, do we really do any of that? Do we really do that? Here, process, reader report, portable case. Here you go look at it. Your chats are in there. That happens a lot.
It does. It probably happens more often than the opposite of us analyzing, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So to see it all come to fruition, to see it all, everything come in, like almost like all of the training and making sure everything is right, speaking for those who can't speak, it's very validating forensically and emotionally.
Yeah, you're like, I went to all this training, learned all these things, and I
Yeah.
finally got to put it all to use in one single case, right?
Yeah.
You flexed a lot of muscles in that one.
It was good, making sure you're thorough, but also nerve-wracking.
Sure.
You have to testify to it. And again, thanking your past self. Like, thank you for putting in this effort early on. Thank you for taking notes. Thank you for writing this report.
Great notes.
Yes. And I think some people forget to do that.
Exactly.
Well, especially in the testing, it can be hard because you're in the middle of it. And once this is like lining up, if you haven't taken good notes, you've got to stop and go back and start over and
Yeah.
take those good notes because it's going to need to come into court to back up what you're saying on the stand. And then speaking of that, did you have to tell your prosecuting attorney, look, I did all this testing and validating. I need you to ask me about this on the stand? Did you have to
Yes.
say that? Okay.
I absolutely, he was very thorough, very good DA. And, he just would listen and walk them through the steps. And you have to like remind them, about best practices. It's like, let's get out ahead of this. Let's
Mhm.
talk about that. This is why it's important. We can't just take it at face value. It adds some credibility. It adds some validation. It'll make sense. And some people may not ask those questions, but I think it's important to provide that context.
Feel like you're educating them,
Hmm.
you're educating what you did to the prosecution, the DA, you're educating them to be able to make and ask the right questions so that you can explain and tell the story the way it should be told.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think, there's lessons to be learned through each of these cases. This one kind of combines a lot of lessons into one,
Right.
but at the same time, it's just, we're always learning and every case is
Yes.
different.
Yes.
What's important in one is not important in the other. So it's almost like you just got to be on your game all the time. And if you have to take a step back and reevaluate, do it.
Right.
But like you said, take good notes
Mhm.
because I don't know about you, but just getting into that mental flow of like, I'm doing what I need to do. I'm feeling good about what I'm looking at. Got a clear mind. You got to get there.
Yeah.
You got to
Yeah.
get there. And your notes will help you get there again when you pick it up because you're not solving a case like this in a day. I think this took like 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks or something like that. So it's a
And then you
process.
might have a similar case years from now, and then you can be like, what case was that? And then you can
Hmm.
go back and look at your notes from that other case that you
Yeah.
did previously and help you be like, oh, is this similar? Is this the same? Do I need to do these same things again
Right.
instead of reinventing the wheel every single time?
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to look back to as well was back the Discord chat. So it was in a Discord channel. Was it like a private channel between him and one other person, or were there many
It
people in
was
this
a
channel?
it
Do you
was a
know?
private channel, but it had like a handful of other people
Uh,
there.
Okay.
And when I
And
say
then,
like everything fit like a glove, like they were replying back to the chats that I had found.
yeah.
So, I mean, just think of it. If we just knew about Discord and or they wrote a search warrant and only had, these interactions, there would be gaps in that. If I just found his chat, that was recording, that was logging those chats, that would give no context to anything else.
Right.
So it was very validate another level of validation
Right.
Yeah.
that it
Well,
just
it
came
also
together.
matters apparently what they asked for in that search warrant. Because if they would have just asked for like his chats or his messages sent, and you're saying that search warrant didn't return anything, then it could have been nothing at all. But since they asked for the channel ID, apparently, or the chats in the
Yeah.
channel, however they worded it, you got the other side.
We got the other side, and it was all based on that channel and his username that was
Yeah.
in the computer. So that was another learning thing is like, did I find his true username? And that's another thing that I just had to validate with when I was doing my
Oh,
testing. I knew
For
what
sure.
my ID was and I knew where to look, and it was there.
that's
That's
awesome.
so awesome.
Well, then I don't suppose you know if anybody that was in the channel that was chatting back and forth with him, did any of those people come in and testify?
Not that I know of.
Because
I don't.
it sounded like you got that search warrant back kind of late. Was that close to when the
Yeah.
trial was starting? Okay, so probably no
Yeah.
time to do that anyways. And I know you said the rule was invoked. And so
Hmm.
for the people who aren't familiar, when the rule is invoked, that basically means you can't talk to anybody else who is testifying during that trial about the trials.
Right.
Or listen to
Or
any.
listen. Yeah.
Yeah, or listen to it. Yeah, yeah. That's probably the bigger thing. So you can't go and sit in the courtroom and listen to everybody who testified before you.
Right.
Hmm.
That's
Yep.
right.
But it was interesting. It was nerve wracking.
I bet.
Literally someone's fate relies on a lot of our testimony. It's not easy.
Absolutely.
No matter how many times we testify, I think there's some aspect of being nervous.
You're literally taking someone's freedom away with your testimony. And
And
if
you've
you
got to
don't,
be right.
I was gonna say, if you don't get it right,
And I think like y'all
it's
had
not good.
mentioned earlier with, what did the DA prosecutor ask and things like that, and want to walk through. I think it's important to collaborate with them as well, and so they know what is important, because what is important to an examiner might be easily overlooked by an attorney or vice versa if we don't know. So we've got to really seek to understand why certain things are important.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think, Mario, we're kind of at the end. Is there anything about this case that you thought was specifically significant or educational from your perspective that you want to highlight right now?
Yeah, just to kind of reiterate the importance and the impact that we have, that our training affords us, our experience affords us. You can't go into this job without having been curious, without wanting to dig a little bit deeper. You just can't rely on the tools. As good as they are, they will miss something. So dig deep, be curious, and don't take your job for granted. Yeah, we got cool titles and we get to do cool things, but make it worth it. You're not just doing it for you. You're doing it for a lot of people. I think it's just, we can do good things.
Right.
So,
And work with others well. Like you said, you had a huge crew, that other detectives, other agencies, that you guys just blended well together and communicated well
yeah,
together.
they are great guys over there at Denton PD. I know a couple of them have already retired, but they worked hard. This forensics side was some key piece of evidence, but that's just a minor part of everything that they did there. So kudos to them. I mean, they tied it up in a bow and presented it and did a great job. We wouldn't be where we're at without that whole crew. So great to collaborate. Examiners and attorneys and detectives or investigators, wherever, they need to talk. They need to talk, because I think that just kind of just open up the channel of understanding of what kind of things that each of us can provide. So it's worth it. It's definitely worth it.
Very good.
Was there anybody specifically that you wanted to mention in the case now as we wrap up as well?
Just memory of Rodney Mooningham. He was a great detective, did a great job. I wish he was there to have seen the end results for this. Detective Potts and Detective Bearden and the rest of the crew up at Denton Police Department, they did great. Picking up where Mooningham left off, and just great people. I'm very, very privileged to have been a part of this case, and just lucky in a way, but curious, and just glad to be a part of it all, to have found and find justice for Miss Hartman.
Well, we truly appreciate you giving us this story, this case, the insight, the education, especially for all of our listeners that come here to learn more. So you provided a case and some education, and we truly appreciate your time tonight.
Hey, thank you guys.
Thanks so much,
I appreciate y'all.
Yeah. All right. Until next time, stay safe, stay sharp, and as always, keep parsing the truth one bite at a time.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow us to get notified the next time a new episode drops. If you can do more, head on over to parsingthetruth.com and donate by clicking on the donate button. Parsing the Truth is a nonprofit organization, and we are raising money to send a new digital forensic examiner to IASIS training next year in Orlando. Thanks.